Welcome to a new series where I break down your nutrition, run through where you're currently at, the struggles you're having, and offer a little bit of a way forward and a bit of a plan how you can tackle your nutrition so you can see better results. If you want to get involved with this, you are struggling with your nutrition or you feel a little bit lost, head over to my Instagram. I'm going to be doing these, probably I want to try and do fortnightly, and I'll put a question box out there to allow you guys to express interest and jump in if you want me to break down your diet. So, first episode today, we have Titus, who has sent me his current diet, what that is looking like for him. I'll give you a rough breakdown on what his diet's like, but also a little bit about him and his particular goals. So, Titus is a pretty high-level football player. He has been doing that from a young age, and he's recently signed for a new team, taking the next step in his career. So congrats, bro. His main goal at the moment, obviously apart from performing in football, when he's coming to the gym is to put on a bit of size. You know, he's gonna start playing against bigger guys, and being around 71 kilos, he wants to put on a little bit of weight. Titus has told me that he had come to the gym, he had worked up to around 74 kilos, but over the last few months, he kind of plateaued and now even has dropped weight, and he's sitting around that 71. So straight off the bat, being a young guy, playing pretty high level football, he's gonna have quite high energy demands, meaning that he's using a lot of energy. And in order to build muscle sustainably, we need to be in a calorie surplus or energy surplus. That means that we need to be replenishing all the energy that he's losing in the gym and playing football, and then add a little bit on top. That's going to be the hardest thing as an athlete to consistently do, because that requires obviously eating more food and eating the right types of food to make that job easier. Titus has also told me that he's been progressing in strength, but not gaining weight. That tells me that his training is probably at an adequate intensity. We just need to make a few tweaks to his diet. So let's run through Titus's current diet. For breakfast, he usually has something like 3 eggs, 2 slices of bread with peanut butter and honey, and a coffee. Then he gets to lunch and he has some sort of, stir fry, like chicken stir fry, for example, pasta with beef mince. So usually carbohydrate source and then a protein source. Then we come to dinner and we're looking at something like steak and potatoes, fish and chips, Japanese type meals, which often, will include a protein source and then a carbohydrate source. So the good news is that we already have a solid base around nutritional habits. He's consuming protein in each meal, he's consuming a carbohydrate source in each meal, and stir fries, steak, these kind of things are gonna have adequate fat intake as well. So in order for Titus to build muscle, there's 2 things that we need to ensure. We need to ensure that there's adequate protein intake and adequate protein feeding across the day and spacing that out across the day, and then having adequate calories. Now, first off, when it comes to protein, usually we're looking from anywhere from 1.5 to 2.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Now, what most people don't realize is that we need to take into account lean body mass when it comes to protein intake. If we have an 80 kilogram man who is 10% body fat, very lean, versus an 80 kilogram man that is 20% body fat, the leaner individual will most likely need to be at the upper end of that. And knowing Titus, I know that he is quite lean, so we want to opt for the higher range of that. So I'm not just gonna settle for 1.5 grams per kilogram for Titus. We definitely wanna be aiming for at least 140 to 150 grams of protein, seeing as he's around 70 kilos. Beyond that, we don't wanna just be having that at the start of the day. As best we can, we wanna be spacing that out for multiple feedings across the day. Currently, he's eating 3 meals. I would probably suggest we start to spread that out to at least 4 protein feeds throughout the day. So that's the first change we can look at making. Secondly, we need to work out how we can get adequate calories across the day. Now, because Titus would have quite a high energy demand, increasing his meal frequency is probably going to be the easiest way to do that. If we just increase the volume of food he's consuming in one meal, he's going to end up force feeding, and we don't want eating food to be too much of a hassle, especially when he has to worry about training and performing in training. So step one was increase meal frequency. Now, straight off the bat, that's going to include more calories if we're eating more meals. But on top of that, we need to look at how we can make his meals a little bit more calorie dense to the point that he starts or begins to gain weight. One strategy that is very helpful for athletes who have higher energy demands is using liquid calories. We can look at calories as being certain forms of calories being very satiating versus not being very satiating. The more satiating a food is, the more it's going to fill you up. So we want to find foods that are high in calories but lower in volume. Liquid like milk, honey, which is already including, which is a good option, fruit juice, and even just blending things up into smoothies is going to be very valuable and could help you, Titus, to get that extra meal in between meals without feeling like you're consuming too much food initially. And once you get used to that, you might find your appetite will start to increase and you can start to handle a little bit more food. So in the context of your particular diet, this could look like adding a glass of fruit juice with breakfast. Then between breakfast and lunch, we could then fit a smoothie in there. A smoothie could include things like eggs. A lot of people find that a bit like crazy when you say, oh, adding eggs, yuck. But when that gets blended up, you don't taste it. The fat from eggs is going to be useful calories and it has extra protein in the egg white as well. You can add honey into your smoothies. You can add carbohydrate sources like oats, and you can also add fruit. So multiple sources of carbohydrates in the honey, fruit, and oats, and then protein from protein supplements, eggs, Greek yogurt's also another good option. But that's not going to be too filling and an easy way to get extra calories. Another handy way to increase your calorie intake without filling you up too much is by introducing more fat. When we look at the macronutrients, protein, carbs, and fats, protein and carbs per 1 gram are going to give you 4 calories worth of energy. 1 gram of fat is going to give you 9 calories worth of energy. So that's why increasing your fat intake will often allow you to increase calories without increasing your food volume too much. Options are higher fat meat, for example. Salmon is quite high fat. Switching from chicken breast to chicken thighs will increase your fat. Keeping your steak into your diet will often carry with it a bit of fat as well. Moving away from full fat meats, we have nut products, nuts themselves, peanut butter, which is usually high in fat and very easy to handle calories. You can also add peanut butter into your shakes, which is very helpful in itself. And then we have full fat dairy products, yogurt, milk, cheese, low volume, high calorie foods that you can add in your meals or you can add into your shakes to make things very easy. Now, I wouldn't recommend putting cheese into your shakes, but yogurt and milk, very helpful. All right, so let's recap the goals and how that would look in Titus's current diet. So we want to increase protein feedings, to have more regular protein feedings. We want to increase the meal frequency to get high calorie intake across the day. We want to make use of liquid calories to make it easier to consume calories through fruit juice, high calorie sources, full fat milk, continuing to use honey, and then make use of higher fat options from high fat cuts of meat, full fat dairy products, and nut products. So if we were to implement that into Titus's current diet, his current breakfast of 3 eggs, 2 slices of bread with peanut butter and honey, and a coffee, we could add in a glass of fruit juice to get an extra 100 to 150 calories. We could then incorporate more sauce onto the eggs, like tomato sauce, for example, again, to get another 50 to 100 calories. Then between breakfast and lunch, we could incorporate a smoothie with high fat options and a carbohydrate source such as oats. Then we could incorporate eggs, full fat milk, honey. It'd be quite easy from there after adding a protein powder to make sure you're hitting adequate protein to get anywhere from 200 to 500 calories. Moving on to his lunch, I think his lunch was in a pretty good spot, making use of stir fry, pasta, quite low satiating carbohydrate sources, meaning you can consume a lot of them. My only advice would be if you are continuing to lose or maintain weight, again, just making use of things like cheese and sauces to get extra calories without increasing the food volume too much. Then pretty much the same with dinner as well. So the main changes are really gonna come from breakfast and adding an extra meal in before lunch. So Titus, give that a go. Let me know how you go. And anyone else who's interested, make sure you head over to my Instagram to put your request in.